Welcome back to the Carnival series with me, Hotfoot Harmony. Here are 5 reasons why we have pretty masks. Now, it is no secret that masks in the 21st century looks a lot different than it used to before. Traditional portrayals make up just a small percentage and the focus is on the glitz, the glamour, the beads and the big truck. Here are 5 historical reasons why that came to be. Number 1. The aftermath of the Carnival riots. Before the Carnival riots, the lower class or the Jamet class dominated masks on the streets. Understand that many of the portrayals of the Jamet masks mocked and mimicked and taunted the upper classes, and to them, whining was very offensive. So they celebrated in their own private spaces while the Jamets had their public thing going on. After the Carnival riots, there were a lot of legal restrictions placed on public gatherings. You couldn't even play music before 6 o'clock on Carnival Monday morning. So to avoid confrontation and potentially being arrested, the Jamets, who previously dominated Carnival, would tend to practice within their own private spaces away from the public eye. This made room for the middle and upper classes who now felt comfortable celebrating their Carnival in public again. From then on, they had more of an upper hand in determining how Carnival looked, and it leaned more and more towards their pretty fancy masks and away from the Jamet mask. 2. The government organized competitions. Despite all the restrictions, the Jamet Carnival still survived in its own ways. Remember, much of it was about resistance, so the government had to keep it under control so that it wouldn't be a threat to the social order, and also find ways to manipulate it to do things that the government would have wanted to push, like national pride, cultural unities, and acceptable ways of behaving. One of the means of control was competitions. You create categories like King of the Band and Queen of the Band, and you let people compete for big prizes. Of course, these categories would be more things that they wanted to see. So if you wanted to win, you had to come with the sequins and the beads and the historical themes. This was a way of directing masqueraders and mask makers towards a certain kind of mask. Another way of ideological control was images used to market Carnival to tourists. They wanted to make Trinidad and Tobago look like a twin island paradise in the sun where everybody lived as one, and oftentimes the Jamet mask was too provocative for that. 3. The growth of the middle class. After independence and the oil boom of the 1970s and 80s, people saw more employment opportunities with higher wages, and so the middle class grew and the upper class too. So many people had more money to spend, and they were more willing to spend it on luxuries like, an all-inclusive Carnival band. They also sought to distance themselves from the lower class and were very enticed by the idea of an exclusive mass where only a certain kind of people would play and they would stay away from the you-know-whos. With people moving out of the lower class communities into middle and upper class communities with big fans and television and things, there was less emphasis on community and more on capitalism. So whereas before a community would come together and put out a mass band, now they could pay somebody else to do it. Over time, playing mass with particular bands became a status marker to say, 1, I have links, and 2, I have money. 4. Mass became business. Business people started seeing the money-making opportunities in mass. That's the long and short of it. They could now sell what people used to do for free, and they could use it to promote their own products. Better yet, they could make it bigger and appeal to even more people, even foreigners. They could outsource costume production to China. 5. Women became masked. For many years, the Jamet class was very expressive with their bodies and their sexuality through movement. For several reasons, particularly after World War II, young people, especially women of different races and classes, became particularly interested with the public display of their bodies. There was some influence of Hollywood through American TV and magazines, some influence from the style of Brazilian carnival costumes, and some influence from the women's liberation movement. Also, people came to their senses about the place being so hot. So while at one time Carnival was dominated by men, it evolved more and more into a space where women could play themselves rather than characters and show off their bodies because, what is there to hide? Whether or not we think it's a bad thing, culture always evolves and it suits the social and economic factors that surround the desires of a people. So Carnival in 20 years is going to look different from the way it does now. So like if you knew some of these things, comment if you didn't, and share it either way. That's that on that. Crick crack, monkey brick is back on a piece of pomerac.